Hey, it's Edna White. I'm so glad you're with me today. So, today I wanted to come to you and talk to you about um, how religion really broke our spirits. I can tell you it's a serious thing. Um, and to all you real talkers, welcome back to Keeping It Real on Purpose. I'm your host, Edna White. Imagine living in a world where your deepest beliefs are at war with your lived experiences. The very foundations you built your life upon are crumbling, leaving you in a whirlwind of confusion, guilt, and fear. This isn't a philosophical struggle. It's not about Bible against practicality. It's raw, it's often hidden, it's the reality of trauma. Today, we're ripping off the band aid to expose the insidious grip of inner conflict and the emotional shrapnel left behind by spiritual abuse. If you've ever felt like your mind and your heart were locked in a battle that you couldn't win, this episode is for you. So step towards liberation and just listen and challenge yourself. It's worth it because you are worth it. This topic is deeply personal to me, and I know it resonates with so many of you who have reached out. For a long time, I lived with an internal war. On one side, there was an unwavering belief that I was taught. I'm thinking of the devil and the angel and shoulders. That's what I'm thinking about. And the rules, the doctrine, um, the absolute truths handed down from when I was a youth. And on the other side, my actual life, my experiences, my questions, the things that just didn't quite fit the narrative I was given. This clash created what I call the inner conflict or cognitive dissonance. It's like your brain is trying to hold two completely opposing ideas at the same time, and it's exhausting. I can't tell you how exhausted I would be coming from church, and I had all these questions as time went on. Now, it doesn't happen, the beginning. It starts to happen over time because you hear the same messages, you hear the same doctrines, you hear the same little laws that they have, and all of a sudden it doesn't weigh any, it's like it doesn't make sense. For example, I was told that I couldn't go on vacation, and vacationing would be fraternizing with the world. And they didn't like that. So I would only be able to go to events like church conferences that they recommended, or I would go to places that all of us were going to so that they keep a shield around us. And it just didn't make any sense. And as I had my children, I realized that, they need to experience the world. So I purchased a timeshare for all of the New England states, and we go every other weekend. And it expanded my children's ability to be social, be interactive with people, to engage, to just be that part that we needed was social. So it started to weigh on me. What is that about? So when I would return to church and we were talking, having conversations in church, I would share that. Why do you say not to go on vacation? I don't understand, you know, the reasoning for it, the rationality about it. And I never got any answers, just the same answer over and over again. Well, you're around worldly people. So what does worldly mean? Doesn't it mean they're well traveled? And I would get more and more confused, right? I was completely, it was just really bad. And every decision felt like I was betraying one part of myself or another. It led me to overwhelming anxiety, complete anxiety. And I didn't know what it was when I kept going, but it was like anxiety, complete anxiety all the time. And when it's like a when you put the batteries in a toy, and then you play with it, those little dogs, and you play with it, and then all of a sudden the batteries die, they burn out. And then I was just going and just like a robot, just sitting there. Um, a constant hum of dread that was going through me, like something was wrong, that I wasn't enough, good enough, and that I somehow was falling short in the eyes of a higher power, even the eyes of this church community. I carried a profound sense of guilt for simply having questions, for not fitting into a prescribed mold. Sometimes I was called the black sheep, and um, maybe I was in left field when I should be in the same field that they are. And boy, shame started to creep in yet even more. It was deep and burning. It whispered to me that I was flawed and I had to get in to fit in. Um, I was unworthy worthy of true grace or love, simply because I couldn't reconcile what I was taught and what I felt and experienced. This wasn't just about feelings or bad feelings. It impacted my self worth, my relationships, my ability to truly step into leadership in my life. It was a long psychological distress that kept me playing me small. And I know that you feel that for yourself, if you're in this position or in this place of um, feeling this conflict. So let's break it down a little further, okay? When you're dealing with religious trauma, these feelings aren't just feelings, they become a deeply ingrained. Think about it. I started going when I was 19, and all of the doctrine, doctrines were ingrained in me. Certain thoughts and even certain feelings were sinful. And you had to walk this straight line, but if you did, you'd fall and go to hell. So I never thought of it, well, how do you get back up? If you fall off this line, how do you get back up to get back on the line and start walking this line again? So one little slip up, you were classed as uh, the rebellious one. You would question, you were, even if just to ask a question, well, what's the difference between a soul and a spirit? And you'll be questioned. You'll be ostracized, rebellious, and asked, where did you get that from? Um, that message gets woven into the very fabric of who you are. And I was there until I was in my late 30s. So think about centuries being there. This creates a cycle. You experience something, it conflicts with a belief. You feel guilty or anxious, and then you try to suppress the experience or the questioning. Even when I was going on vacation with my children, we had a marvelous time. Do you know I forgot a lot of it? Because I was pushing it down, because I was in conflict with the doctrine. That conflict doesn't go away. It just festers, and it could lead to difficulty trusting your own judgment. That's number one. If you ever taught, if you've been ever taught to really rely solely on external authority, because they say, the leadership says the word comes to them as God, as shepherds over the sheep. Well, where do the shepherds take the sheep? They take them to slaughter. They feed them enough to take them to slaughter. They don't take them to a happy place that'll live forever. No, they take them to slaughter. If you've been taught to rely on that solely on somebody's words instead of studying yourself for your own moral guidance, there's something wrong with that. That's taking your ability to you to make your own choices. So how do you learn to trust your own inner compass if you have to go to them for guidance for everything in your life? Everything. You know nothing. The second thing it does, it's a struggle with boundaries. Fear of rejection or punishment can make it incredibly hard to say no or stand up for yourself. So listening to what the rules are, you you don't agree with it, you can't say no. So your voice is silent. Or you can't stand up for yourself. I remember a situation where I always wore earrings and I was a model and I loved unique looking earrings. Always, always, always. And remember putting them back on. I wanted to wear them. I wanted to enjoy them. And it was a big meeting called about my earrings. And I was questioning, well, how big are you gonna wear them? Are you gonna how long are you gonna wear them? And I'm like, I couldn't even make a decision to wear earrings. And I said no. It was the first time I think I ever spoke up for myself. I said, no, I'm going to wear my earrings. I'm sorry. If it offends you or anybody else, I'm going to wear them. So I had to stand up for myself. I had struggled so many years with those boundaries. And I had to put up a boundary. You can't tell me what is good for me to wear. That was a choice and that was a boundary. You're not going to. The third thing is perfectionism or self criticism. I was always criticizing myself. Oh boy, I got to go over this weekend with my kids. I'm not going to go to church. So I have to call early in the week and I'm going to tell them I'm not coming. We're going on vacation. And then I have to hear the rest. But I had to make the script perfect so that it sound compelling and or make up something. And I was actually hurting myself. I was always striving for an attainable, ideal situation. When I was a secretary, when I was dressing for church, when I was, the chairperson, I had to be perfect. And all because I had to avoid judgment or open rebuke. It was very hard. You see, this journey is about recognizing that aren't these aren't character flaws. They are the aftershocks of an experience that impacted your deepest sense of self. So, how do we begin to heal from this? And I want to tell you, it's not overnight. It's not an overnight fix, but it's possible. It's possible. Here are 3 actionable ways you can start today. Now, acknowledge and validate your experience. Now, this is step 1, and it's profound. Many of us don't want to admit that we were in that because that means all that wasted time was for nothing. But there's lessons in everything that ever happens in your life. So if you need to let go, if you need to jump out, jump out. Take that first step out of the rabbit hole. For so long, you might have been told your feelings were wrong or that you were being rebellious, but your feelings are valid. Your experiences are real. And you have to acknowledge them and validate them if nobody ever does. Okay? The action behind that is try journaling about your experience. Right? Try journaling about your experience and this is great because there's no judgment in a journal. It's just you writing. Just write down what you felt, what you thought, what happened, or talk to a trusted friend, a therapist, a coach who can hold space for your story without trying to fix or spiritualize you. Recognize this was trauma and it was impacting me is an immense liberating. It liberates you so much. I'm telling you, just saying this really hurt me. This really impacted me. Hey, I could breathe. It's like popping the cork in a full balloon. Like you can deflate. Number two, challenge the narrative. The beliefs that cause this trauma aren't necessarily your truths. They're narratives you inherited. It's time to critically examine them. What's the action? Take one belief that causes you anxiety or guilt. Ask yourself, is this truly serving me now? Is this aligned with my values? Is there another way to see this? Seek out alternative perspectives. Read different books because when we are in church, we don't read any different books. We read the only book and we hear the only word. Listen to diverse voices. This isn't about rejection, it's about discerning what you believe. See, collectives in spirituality and in religion, all of them go one way and look one way, feel one way. But when you're an individual relationship with your higher power, with God, with Buddha, with whomever you choose, the higher self is individual and it's an internal. It's never external. Just to put that in. Three, practice self-compassion. This is crucial for counteracting the ingrained shame. Religious trauma often teaches us to be harsh on ourselves. I used to say I'm my biggest critic and I'm really hard on myself until I realized that was ingrained in me and it was a trauma. So I had to get rid of it. And when I started to release that and stopped and gave myself compassion, the shame started to leave and lift. The action is treat yourself with the same empathy and kindness you would offer to a dear friend going through a difficult time. When that voice of shame creeps in, consciously replace it with a voice of understanding. Say, nope, of not just understanding, but compassion. Let's just use compassion. I don't like understanding, but compassion. Tell yourself, it's okay to feel this. I'm doing my best and I'm worthy of love and healing. This can be a simple, kind thought, a gentle touch, or giving yourself permission to rest. It could be any of that. Now, this was an incredible, raw, and vital conversation about the silent struggle of religious trauma and inner conflict. Thank you for daring to learn and to lean into this uncomfortable but necessary truth. If any part of you wants to, you know, discuss this or whatever I've said that you would like to discuss with me, listen, I'm here with you and your feelings are valid. This is just the beginning of the journey. For more resources and support to help you navigate this complex challenge and begin your healing, visit www.ednawhite.com. Don't let the past dictate your future. Share this episode with someone who needs to hear it, and remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment with your biggest takeaway. It's time to reclaim your mind, your emotions, and your true self. Bye for now.